Welcome to Horticulture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture. Hello, welcome. How's everybody feeling today?
Lovely.
Question.
Yeah?
Oh, Brett beat you to
Brett's
it today.
got it. Let's go.
Alexis is. I saw
it.
the sorrow on your face, Alexis. Brett is the captain of this ship.
Well,
mine's hard.
Mine's
Take the
more
lead,
of a,
Captain.
Mine's more of a personal question. So, Alexis and me.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I withhold my statement.
I plead the fifth.
Never mind.
How many peaches is too many peaches to eat?
Millions of peaches. Peaches.
How
for
many
free.
in one sitting?
In one sitting?
Let's just say all of this is hypothetical. You know, there's no
Like-
grounded real experience of my own that's making me ask these
I'm
questions.
saying, how many peaches?
Not many.
We're not
for
talking about
me?
digestive upset being a factor, or
I
anything?
mean, I don't know. It could be a philosophical question. It could be more of a dietary one. I don't know.
I'm just
how many
gonna-
peaches is too many peaches?
I'm going to bring up, I had a peach slushy one year. I'm not going to name the orchard, and it was fresh and good. So I got a second and a third, and I lost a lot of weight that week.
Wow.
That may have been a little bit of overkill.
It's a lot
but
of
my
fiber.
tummy,
It was
my
peach,
tummy.
peach slushy going in, peach slushy going out.
Yes, it was the same format. Yeah, it was an interesting week. So I can speak to the slushy aspect. It was too much.
I gotcha.
3 large slushies in a 7-minute
Everything
period
in moderation.
Yeah.
I had a lot of
Okay.
seafood yesterday, and
Okay.
yeah, things were weird, but
Okay.
I
It's
gotcha.
fine.
I don't feel any negative
Peaches.
effects from it. It's more just like, I think for me, it's, I don't know.
Peaches. Yeah,
I think
I mean,
I
Yeah,
think
when you
in
buy
one
them
sitting,
in pecks and half bushels, it's kind of
they're so good. Peaches
Pushes
are
you.
so good. Local
see,
peaches.
Tyler doesn't like. My husband doesn't like peaches, so like,
What?
there's never peach things in my house.
feel like
yeah.
you told
Who
a bad
doesn't like
secret on him.
peaches?
red flag.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
if
that's
I had
not
known,
a yellow flag. That's a red flag.
if I had known earlier, doesn't like peaches.
Straight to
Mm.
jail.
Oh, wow.
To not pass
Is it
go.
'cause they're
Straight to
fuzzy?
jail.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
the
a fuzzy
texture of
He
the skin?
does not like the flavor. Doesn't like the flavor.
Oh.
Doesn't like peaches.
I need to
What the heck?
process this for a minute.
Mhm.
So,
No,
yeah.
although
Has he had
I've
it in
had
slushy form?
Yeah, if he doesn't
3
like
to
him
be
now, he's going to
exact.
hate him then.
I've had him eat nectarines, and I've tricked him, and I'm like, "Hey, you should try this nectarine," and he's like, "It's okay," and I'm like, "Do you know it's basically a peach?
It's a bald peach.
It's a bald peach." He's like, "No, it's not," and I was like, "Who are you gonna believe? I'm the professional here."
And you're tricking him into eating like different fruit
I'm,
items.
you
Okay.
know,
Yeah,
It's
no
fine.
wonder he feels under attack about the peaches.
I don't know.
he
He's-
started it.
I mean,
Okay.
during peach season, it's hard to get too many because fresh peaches are, to me, pretty good.
I don't think I've had a
Pretty
good.
fresh peach yet this year.
Sad.
I have not this year
I know.
either.
No, me
I
neither.
gotta go to the,
I've had
I
enough
gotta
for
go to the
all of
market.
us.
Have you been having lots of peaches
So how many
here
peaches
lately?
is too many
Yeah,
peaches
Brad.
for you then, Brett? Maybe
I
that's
haven't
the question for
found
you.
the upper limit.
Wow.
The limit does not exist.
Yeah.
So he was theoretically wanting to know, like, when his bloodstream would start to get diluted with peach juice, and he would
That's
have
right.
issues. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
then what is your current max? I should ask then.
Mm-hmm.
This
what's your
year,
current level
this
of
year,
accomplishment?
I'm not as young as I used to be. You know,
Okay.
I used to
I'm not as good as I once
I
was.
used to throw down peaches like hard. I would say there were multiple days that I would eat upwards of a dozen peaches.
like
A
With
dozen
those
in
in
one
stomach
day.
ache?
one day.
No problem. One day.
Dang, you're like a raccoon, man. That's impressive. That is
Yeah.
What,
But
else,
I'm
what
not-
else did you eat that day? Just peaches?
No. I probably had
No.
some eggs for breakfast.
Oh my goodness.
And then I had some peaches.
Wow.
And then I had like maybe a sandwich or some leftovers for lunch. And then I had some peaches. And
Eggs
then
and peaches. I mean,
afternoon had some
Were
peaches.
they
I'm
all
telling you,
fresh
that's what I'm
peaches?
asking. I'm here
Or-
confessing that I may have a problem. And
this sounds like a confessional more than
Where do you
anything
get
else.
these peaches? Do you have a tree?
no. I buy them from some of the orchards around here.
Mhm.
In bulk, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I have to at this point.
I heard that Brett Wolf was banned from like 7 different Kentucky orchards. They don't trust him to pick your own because he goes out for an hour.
Go
and comes
out
back with
and
two
Eats them
peaches.
so many in one
Yeah.
sit. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We're gonna have
Charge me my $3 entry fee, and I'm going to make the most of it, my friend.
Yeah, ROI. Look it up.
That's right. That's
Oh
right.
my goodness!
I
almost.
don't know.
season.
It's just when they're in season for that brief
It's so
moment.
good.
It's just
It's so
like
good.
I can't. I have to. But
It's not
nowadays,
both
I would say I probably maybe like 4 in a day is like more typical.
Okay.
That seems
Not
reasonable.
bad.
Yeah.
that seems reasonable.
I guess.
And like,
I mean,
are they
if
all
I lead
fresh
with
or are
12,
they
then I
in
can back off to 4.
pies?
What's that?
Or-
They're all fresh, 100%. I just go
Okay.
in, wash it off, cut it in half, pull the pit, half, boom.
Bam.
Boom, done.
Not
Yeah.
even on any ice cream, just straight.
No, yeah, it's just
peach
straight.
shooters.
There's no churching it up.
Okay.
Just straight peaches.
Yeah. There's no medley about this. Okay.
Right to the dome.
Okay, that's an
Well,
accomplishment. Impressive, Brett.
Hopefully, all of our listeners today have made the conscious decision on how many peaches are enough peaches for them.
I haven't had any negative effects at all. You know, my A1C is good. My stomach aches or no stomach ache problems.
Dude, that's
what
the
is
one
it
I
like
find
to be a
hard
man?
to believe.
Yeah. Your stomach has, that many peaches.
I mean, I wasn't eating 12 at a time. I would eat like 3 at 4 different times during the day.
Got you. You were
It's
buffering them. Smart
lot.
thinking.
That's right. Well, we don't have to keep going on this. The more we talk, the worse I feel.
But
I just want to
do
say this
love
was something
orchard
you
season.
brought up. I just want to remind.
Yeah. I was expecting a more supportive audience. Frankly, is all.
You should have known better. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what you
Well,
thought.
who is this? Who is this other voice? This fourth voice that maybe our listeners haven't heard before. That's joined us today.
Hi, my name's Jan Knappage, everybody. I'm a peach fan, but not as big of a peach fan as Brett.
Few of us are, ma'am. Few of
really
us are.
is no competition.
I work with these folks kind of at a distance, I guess, another part of UK, with the nutrition education program. And I work on making local food accessible to folks that are limited resource or low income. And we have a good time over there. We got some cool projects going on.
Sounds
And
like you
you,
guys have
Jan,
a lot
also-
of projects. Yeah.
Yeah, Jan's also a farmer. Just want to point that out because recognition is due there for all the hard work that she does. She also posts a lot of funny pictures of vegetables with googly eyes on them, which is chef's kiss. So-
Hey, you
It's
got to have fun with it, right? When it's 95 and 50% humidity.
yeah, you're just
You
like
got
in
to
a
put the
tunnel.
googly eyes.
You have googly eyes. Your
This is
fruits
how
and
I
veggies
feel
have
right
googly
now.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
But-
appreciate you calling me a farmer because a lot of times I feel slightly like I'm just trying here, you know?
Aren't we all though? Aren't we all?
But I appreciate it. I'm giving my best effort.
It's I really like that thing going around there. It's like, well, what do you do for a living? My best, Tom. I do my best.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's
Yeah.
everybody right now.
I like that. That's
So
going to
you
be
are
my new
all about
response.
foods and food systems. Yeah, you're doing your best.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So personally and professionally, you're all about kind of foods. It sounds like then, Jan.
Oh,
Lots
yeah.
of things going on. Yeah,
There's no line. It's just all blurred together.
I love it.
Eating
I
food,
love it.
growing food. But we're having a good time. I think it's a good thing to put my energy and effort into, you know?
Oh
As
yeah,
I think all of you feel the same.
yeah. Brett,
I mean,
the
especially
peaches
with
are included
peaches
in
involved.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to get me some peaches.
Now you
Yeah.
have my
No.
attention.
I'm sorry, what now?
And
I'm
you
on a
said-
podcast?
Did you say the SNAP program, Jan? Is that a word that you used yet? I
Yes.
couldn't remember. Okay.
I haven't used it yet. I don't think.
Okay.
Yes, SNAP.
I heard you say
Supplemental-
NEP, so yeah, SNAP and NEP, yeah, it's kind of related.
Yeah, and SNAP for some folks, maybe they still go use the term food stamps. So it's
Mhm.
just the new name for that older program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Cool.
For anyone who
tell-
needs the spelled out acronym,
SNAP.
And what was NEP in this context?
Nutrition Education Program. Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. And
Is
so
that a
you work
component? Oh,
with
yeah.
the NEP, work as part of the NEP program
Yes.
in this case at UK, University of Kentucky, but there's NEP programs and support nationwide, I assume.
Yes. But not everybody is at a land grant institution like
Gotcha.
we are.
Oh, interesting.
So we're the only state where all of that federal money for SNAP Ed goes to UK and Kentucky State University.
Oh, wow.
Get to
And so
split that money.
So the idea, I think, partially is that there's money that goes toward these assistance programs, and they also want to have money going toward supplemental education to kind of bolster that and support the people who receive those benefits.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you're here doing. And the interesting, I mean, not kind of, that is what you're here doing. But the interesting thing I think about what you're particularly working on is there are times where SNAP and SNAP Ed means telling people about which stuff to buy at the grocery store, the particular vegetables, how to prepare them, whatever, some sort of barriers of entry there. But with yours in particular, there's this aspect of making SNAP part of the local food system, and helping
Yeah.
people to access these local foods as opposed to just any foods, any supplemental nutrition. It's also, hey, there's this whole movement, this whole thing that's been happening, and sometimes it's not terribly equitable who gets to participate, and we
Right.
would like for everybody to be able to participate in local foods. Am I speaking out of turn here?
No, that's exactly right. So I like to say that within the work that we do, because we have folks that are doing exactly what you said in the beginning, which is that kind of more traditional nutrition education. What foods to buy, how to prepare it, how to store it from the grocery, But I like to call myself the liaison between that work that's happening and then the agriculture and horticulture scene. So that's, teaching folks how to grow their own food, and having access to free resources that are easy to understand, about growing tomatoes in a raised bed, or about using your SNAP dollars to buy seeds to plant at home. Because not a lot of folks know that, but um, if you have, you're getting these nutrition program assistance programs, you can use that money to buy edible, so vegetable, fruit, and herb plants to put in your garden, so you don't just have to buy groceries with it. So letting folks know that and how to use that. We also have a hunting and fishing program, so I call that the localist of local food, right? Getting out there and harvesting, whether it's a deer or you're going and you love catfish, and so you're going and you're fishing, even down to like you have a pesky, raccoon or something. We have a recipe for it.
Ooh, sorry, raccoons.
I know, right?
That is the original local foods that you're talking about then. That's pretty cool. And I know in our extension office, my goodness, some of the stuff that you guys do is so popular, and some of the materials that you put out. There's a program associated with that, isn't there?
Yep. So it's called Cook Wild Kentucky. And so it's hunting, fishing, and then now we've added a foraging component to that. So going out and like what's in your yard, and how do you safely identify and harvest that, and then use it in recipes as well. So that's been fun. Each year it's expanded and grown to meet the needs of folks, and to not only meet the needs, but also hit on the culture that is in Kentucky of doing those things. I think that's why that program hits home, is because maybe if folks aren't doing it themselves, they had parents or grandparents that they remember doing that and cooking and, making squirrel dumplings or,
Squirrel gravy.
yes,
Yum. Some of my
yes.
favorite memories. Yeah.
So we have some stipulations. We have to stay within the dietary guidelines for Americans, which is a USDA guideline when we're making our recipes. So we're taking those traditional ones and we're trying to have this spin, so maybe it's a little bit lower in things like saturated fat or sodium, things like that. So trying to meet in the middle. Um, so we have that program. And then, if you're not into growing your own food and you're not into hunting and fishing, then we also have some programs of going to the farmer's market and accessing that local food from a farmer that's in your community, as well. And then, lastly, one of the ones that I work on is farm to school. So getting those local foods into our school systems, which benefit the farmer, of course, because they're making money. And then also benefiting the kids because they're getting this nutrient dense, farm raised foods, whether it's fruits or vegetables or proteins as well. So meats and eggs and such. So we're trying to meet people where they're at. Not saying you have to grow a garden, but there's also other options for you if you don't have the time or the resources or the space to do that. Um, what are other ways you can have local foods in your meals? So
That's super cool. I've seen, I know the farmer's market I used to work with really actively. They had a really great program where people could come use their benefits. They participated in the Double Dollars program, which is, I think CFA at the time was helping them with that. Community Farm Alliance, and supporting that effort. And so it was really awesome to see people who were able to come to the farmers market and, double the amount of money that they got to spend there, and they get to spend it with their local farmers, and they're really excited. And watching kind of that culture of we saw a lot of people come with grandparents, and so maybe they were in grandparents were in housing, and then there was like some sharing of, grandma knew how to make squash a certain way, and so they got to, sit down and learn that, or pick up a recipe, like you said, with the newer ones. And so that's been a really cool thing to see, them be able to, like, people be able to shop with that program.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think when the market is offering like supplemental resources to go with it. So we have like a nutrition calendar that can get handed out. So each month has a new recipe, or like you said, recipe cards that are seasonally curated through, Plated Up Kentucky Proud, or recipes that we're putting out. And then also just like sometimes we have what we call like reinforcement items. So we'll have like measuring cups, measuring spoons, uh what's the word? I'm using my hands, but of course you can't see me.
Board?
Cutting boards.
Yeah.
Things like that, where it's like, okay, now I can take this home and actually process it. Or like peelers, because, not everybody has that in their home if they're not used to cooking from scratch. So trying to meet folks where they're at is like, oh, you should do this. But it's like, well, I need my kitchen to be supplied with some of these items, or I'm not going to be able to process this squash or slice this tomato or dice it up, or, so trying to be realistic, right? Not just pointing the finger and being like, you should buy local, or you should get yourself to the market. Because, there's a lot of barriers for some folks. It's easier just to go to the grocery. It's one trip. But if you go to the grocery and the market, it's two separate trips, potentially on two separate days,
Do you
using
have
your
transportation,
etc. Yeah. So just trying to give options for folks to enter in. Because like, I think it was maybe Brett, we don't want local food to only be for folks that have, that are wealthy or have higher incomes, because obviously that's not equitable, and we want to make sure that we support everybody.
So I've heard you talk about a lot. This program touches what you guys do, then basically producers and consumers. You kind of work with both. Is that the case? I hear you talking about kind of both things at one time.
I would say definitely. And I'm not even touching on all our programs. I'm kind of touching on just the ones that I'm in charge of. But that is the goal. We have a website called planeatmove.com, and it's like a public facing website. And so on there, I definitely think that is like a consumer with some producer related things, but recipes, meal planning and budgeting, all our gardening resources are on there. And then some of the resources we have that are about to be published will also be posted on there for producers, like a toolkit for the farmers market and things like that. So that's kind of where we've been housing everything to make it accessible and make it, like eye-catching and fun. So it's not just this like boring black and white. It's good information, but who wants to read through all this and look at it? So engaging as well. And there's also things like we have a map for locating all the farmers markets on there, and I think food pantries and maybe one other entity. It might be extension offices, but just things like that as well for folks. So we're trying to hit a little bit with everybody as much as it's in the scope of our work.
Yeah, I know the materials you guys put out are top notch. They're very modern, very legible. The colors are great, and people really, there's a good uptake of those materials at our local office. But now you guys go beyond just like marketing materials, information resources, don't you? Isn't there also like educational components, workshops, and direct community outreach as far as the overall program within the state? It goes beyond just information resources and things like that, doesn't it?
Sure. Like I guess things like recipe demonstrations, we do a lot of that. My brain is like not working right now, but we've done made different YouTube videos of like how to build a raised bed garden,
Oh
a
yeah,
small
yeah, I remember
small
that.
raised bed. Um And then, of course, partnering with agents on any kind of program that they're interested, like for Cook Wild. Okay, well, we want to do a programming on fishing. So we'll partner and we maybe come in and share about Cook Wild and maybe do a recipe demo. And then Fish and Wildlife will come in and do the, the fishing aspect of it and sharing resources and sometimes even hands-on. Like they have stuff that even if there's not like a pond nearby that they can have folks practice in front of them to get all the motions down. So we also try to do that too. Well, we're not experts in, like, we can organize and bring those folks in and then bring them actually out to the county so that your community can have this experience in an intimate way, not just at the state level or, in large groups or just virtually, but we try to adopt and adapt as needed.
The
And you all
program is
provide
just
a
so
lot of
big. Yeah.
good info like for those agents to use. So if you're in Kentucky and listening to this and you're like, well, how do I know where Jan's gonna be? How would they know where you were gonna be, Jan? Do you have like calendars that you all have on your website, or is that something you all just set up through that local office?
Usually we set it up through the local office. We're trying to get a little bit better about using our our state social media page, but I wouldn't say it's mostly just because we're in transition of staff members right now.
Sure.
But we try to also post it on there. This is going on. We're doing a whatever it is, XYZ in McGoffin County, or I'm picking one that's close to me, but
but also people could go to their county extension office, and there are classes, designed around, low income families and what's available, easily available to them, or like they're giving out some of those resources you talked about where, a carrot peeler and stuff like that you don't always need or realize you need until you start dabbling. And so I know my FCS agent that we worked with, we always did like kind of these farm to table or garden to table type things, and would kind of structure them around a lot of the great resources that you all provide, because you're one person, so to be all over is a lot. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, if you can't find Jan, you can find your county extension office, and they have the things that Jan creates and the wisdom of her brain in that office.
Yeah, I like to always say that I'm kind of like, I always try to stay in the background and support the counties to do it, unless it's like that agent, for instance, it's just not their area of expertise. And then usually I'll go out, like I'm thinking of back in, I think it was April, I went down and did a Cook Wild program in Martin County because that agent was new and, was getting just acquainted with extension in general. So a lot of times I try to support and empower folks who, county agents or assistants to do the programming. But, that's not always possible. And it's not, I don't know, extension agents are asked to know a lot of information and be experts on a lot of topics. So it's not really fair to be like, well, so when it makes sense, then I come out as well and try to supplement or bring a team out so we can put that on. But a lot of times I feel like I'm creating the resources for then the counties to push out. So I'm not the most exciting person, but I'll do things like I'm going to go to the state fair with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, where we're going to put on a demo together around Cook Wild this year. So I am out and about. It's just not all the time.
You are out and about, and you're just doing crazy, incredible things. One of those that I would love for you to expand on a little more is that farmers market toolkit.
Oh, sure.
Because you've got cool things coming up, and just kind of what that is and who it's for and all that good stuff.
Well, it's quite relevant right now as we're in like peak farmers market season, especially with folks like tomatoes coming in and peppers and whatnot. Well, I think corn's just around the corner if you haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
If you've got rain, that is.
Yes. Well, that is true, right? But so we wrote the farmers market toolkit back before COVID. I think we launched it in 2018. And now it's in its third edition because, of course, COVID happened and farmers markets changed drastically in 2020. And so it was, how can we still make farmers markets possible for both the farmer and the customer? And then after that, now we're kind of post-pandemic world. And so what does it look like now, and what has stayed and what has shifted back or what is brand new. So it's in its third edition, but basically it's geared towards so county agents that work really closely with their markets, market managers, farmers who are just go above and beyond and are really involved in the market, or like a market board or a market volunteer. And it's basically has sections all about gearing your market and making it a welcoming place. I'm using very broad terms, but for folks that are limited resource. So it's being inclusive beyond just like, I have money and I'm showing up and I'm here. But it's like, if you want to take this extra step, here are some things that maybe you already do, or maybe you need to consider doing. So it's walks folks through, and basically it was based on I think it was 8 to 10 conversations around the state with folks that are on Snap. We did focus groups and asked so many questions about going to the market or why people don't go to the market. And so that's kind of the basis of the information. And it was in rural, urban, and peri-urban areas to try to, because Kentucky is just a very large state with just
sprawling.
a lot going on. Yeah. And so something that I always like is like, if I could try to explain in a nutshell, signage. So there's a whole section about like signage, not just like, hey, we're a market, we're here, but like also pricing things in a way that makes sense. And I know I'm talking to probably the choir here, especially like CCD, like, but saying not just like maybe even pounds of tomatoes cost this much, but showing what a pound is next to the sign so that folks don't have to ask. Because if you don't have an incredible amount of money to spend, you might be a little bit hesitant to ask the question and then not be able to buy, right? So maybe it's 3 tomatoes cost this much, or, you have a quart container, those blue quart containers, and it shows what a pound is. And so then folks can kind of compute it in their head first. So just making signage for pricing that makes sense and also visible, not just like tiny pen writing on a white sheet of paper that's pretty small, or that someone has to look down at the table, but have your signs set up. So like different tips like that just help any customer, right? But we're very specifically things that folks within this audience were like, this would be really helpful and it would make me feel more comfortable, because when I go to the grocery, I have that. I have it kind of more spelled out. Not always, right? There's sometimes you're like, how much are these? Da da da, and you can't see anything. But most of the time, right? And then we also talked about like building partnerships. So working with folks in your community that are also geared towards doing programs for this audience, and like how to organically see if your goals align so that you can do programming together at the market to draw folks in. So there's like a whole partnership section. I'm just going through it really briefly. Even how to apply to accept benefits, nutrition benefits at your market. So, we have SNAP, but we also have WIC, which is Women, Infant, and Children. That's another nutrition program. And then there's also a senior farmers market nutrition program. On top of all of that, then there's Double Dollars, Kentucky Double Dollars. So it walks through how to apply for those, what time of year to apply, because you can't just say, oh, it's May, we want to accept these. It all happens in the fall or winter prior to the market opening. So just having your market try to be more prepared, not just during those 6 months that you're open, but, in advance. So you're not left out. And there's plenty of more things, but that's just kind of a gist. And then we have some marketing materials, some like social media posts that you could download and then just edit if, marketing is not something that's very like a strong, like a strength of your market. So we have some stuff you can download and then just edit that are generic enough. You could add logos, but it also looks nice. So I can answer any questions but that's kind of the gist, is like, how do we bring these folks in, make them feel welcome, and make them want to spend money at the market if it's something that they can do and can get to.
Yeah, farmers markets can be intimidating. Like, even as like someone who's gone forever. Like when I go to a new market, whether it's big or small, it's somehow a little bit intimidating shopping at the farmer's market. Like even when you know people and know what a pound is. So if you're new to that whole design and that feeling, it can feel very, I'm sure, just unwelcoming in a way. Just like, okay, this is too much for me, I'm going to Walmart type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a whole social aspect to it that you don't have to do in other places that can also cause some anxiety. So how do we meet people where they're at to start making them feel more comfortable so it becomes like a natural space to be in? The market that I'm involved in, we've been trying to do more programs geared towards kids so that when families come, it's a space they can hang out in too. And then the kids are getting something out of it. So like story time. Last week we did a guided walk. And then if you did that, then the kids got their own like carrot cash to spend at the market that week. But it takes infrastructure and it takes human capital to be able to pull off those programs on top of just having your regular market, which takes a lot of human capital as well. I think that's something about markets. I think we could do a whole podcast about farmers market culture and it would be very long. But it's just
I love it. I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah. I have lots to say about it. I'm holding back. But we're trying to make it a space for people to want to hang out too. So like not only are they coming to shop, but there's something extra for them to do
more
as
like
well.
An event. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A space for like community together as well.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the most successful markets, the Boyle County market. That's how we saw it grow, was when they started doing events or having music. And the only reason they were able to do that, like you said, that human capital, is when they were able to apply for grant money to get a manager, to get someone whose like job was that and not also running a farm and potentially another job and all that kind of stuff. And, it's much more easier said than done.
You're spread too thin. That's how this year as well, we have a market manager. So it's made like, brought some life
world
back,
of a difference.
Right? Yeah, we could do some extra. So that's been good.
Did I hear you a few minutes ago? This is a little bit different. Mention farm to school as well as being part of the thing that you work with. So, what gets people excited about that, or kind of what's the current state of the program and around the state for that? And what is the program? I guess farm to school for those that may not know.
Sure. Well, I guess we'll start there. What is farm to school? So it has several layers to it. So it's that, I think the most obvious one for most folks is getting farm fresh food into the school cafeteria for kids to eat for breakfast or lunch or for a snack. But there's also this classroom/field trip component, which is, having a farmer come in and do like a taste test with them, or having the kids actually go on a field trip to a farm. And then the third is potentially having like a school garden or some type of growing experience for the kids. And so I feel like in our state, there's a lot of excitement around farm to school. We now have the Kentucky Farm to School Network that's a few years old. That is, I would say that the home of that, Community Farm Alliance, has taken that on and help grow that. But then there are partners, like we're a partner, the Hort Council is a partner. I'm probably going to leave somebody out, but my brain, like the Department of Education, the Department of Ag, and Feeding Kentucky. There's a few others, so I'm throwing a cap. I'm sorry, who I forgot. But there's a large group of stakeholders that are trying to make that possible, applying for grant money together, and putting on programming across the state as well for that. And then nationwide, farm to school is such a big thing as well. So that's just being a part of such a larger effort to make sure that this food is available to our kids. And I think the reason I think farm to school is so important is, it's hard to change an adult's habits. It's hard, as an adult, knowing what maybe I should eat or what would be good for me or what fuels my body. But I have all these habits of all these things I eat, right? And having somebody else tell me to do something different, I'm like, hey, back off. I'm going to eat all these chocolate covered pretzels and I'm going to have a stomach ache, but I'm going to enjoy it while it's going on. Or,
Not
whatever.
Everybody likes peaches.
Right? Not everybody likes peaches.
Not to bring up old stuff bread, sorry. Yeah. But
I
yeah,
messed
so
around. I messed around, and I have yet to find out. So
okay.
He's invincible.
yeah,
Yeah, he is.
sorry.
And I'm not saying that we need to come at our kids and be like, you need to eat this. I don't think doing that to anybody is helpful. But at creating this fun culture around food and learning about our food is, I think, like just a big step in the right direction so that we can have healthier relationships with food in general. And I think part of that is knowing where our food comes from. You know, I didn't grow up with a garden or with a farm background in my family. That's something I learned later in life. And so I didn't know how different things grew. Did it grow on a tree? Did it grow on a bush? Did it just grow on something that was annual and it died? Did it grow underground? Like, I didn't even think about it till I was older, you know? So just, I think that's why to me personally, farm to school is so important is that education part of it. Yes, of course, eating good foods and getting them into our bellies is always important. But if you don't have any background to understand what's going on, is it really as meaningful as it could be? So for me, one of my favorite parts of the farm to school aspect is just letting kids in at an early age of knowing this is how tomato grows. And this is the time frame in Kentucky that tomatoes usually grow. So if I want to have a garden in my yard, I can probably grow a tomato from this time to this time and I'll get, get some fruit off of it. And making that commonplace so that they're growing up with it and it's just an innate thing that they know at this point, and it's not something that they necessarily have to explore and make this extra effort on when they're older, but maybe it's something they enjoy and appreciate, and so they grow a little garden or they support farmers and they go to the market, etc. So anyways, that's background, I guess, but our effort, the portion of farm to school that we're trying to help move forward, is we have this website, and we call it the Farm to School Hub. And I like to say it's a dating website for farmers and food service directors or nutrition directors at the schools, where the farmer makes a profile and the nutrition director makes a profile, and then they get to meet and say, oh, I grow tomatoes and you want them and I have them when you want them. And they can then talk. And so it's just that meeting. It's not the organizing, and there's no payment transaction or anything. And like I said, it's a little clunky. So we have some efforts going on right now to make it more user friendly. But that's where we're trying to meet. We heard at conferences and at different meetings we had with both farmers and food service directors that this would be helpful. So that's where this effort sprang from. And we added it to our yearly grant and got approved for some money for it. Because we all know you got to have some money. You can't just have good ideas sometimes. So we had some money, and now we have some more money to revise it. So we're coming back around to do that in partnership with a lot of these folks. So somebody I forgot to mention earlier was the Food Connection at UK is also doing a lot of farm to school work, and they're helping us with their value chain coordinators. Things that they've heard from farmers and food service directors, we're also taking into account that as well. So we all met, I think it was last month, and we just picked apart the website. And now we're like, okay, from all of this, right? Because we got to take priority. What's priority? We've kind of sifted down, and now we're waiting for like feedback from the website developer and such. But that's where we felt like we could dig in, since we have the organization and we have the capacity. And then, of course, all these partners are moving different pieces forward. Because I totally downplayed all that the Department of Agriculture does with Farm to School. But Tina Garland and her team do a lot to support both farmers and food service directors. So I don't know if I answered all those questions, but
There's so much going on. Yeah. Once you start mentioning, especially the partners, you start mentioning the youth that you're targeting in the program and the producers, I'm sure there's just so many parts to that one individual program, and the scope of that is pretty big. It's statewide scope, I guess, isn't it?
yeah.
All across the state. Yeah. That's just something else. Even that's just such a huge outreach.
And I think there's so much potential to we could just keep digging into different pieces of it when there's a human to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how cool it is that, you're coming out of, this NEP SNAP program, these federal dollars, and it's, probably easy for people to have no idea that, they're using a good chunk of money to support the local movement, like the local farmers, and connecting those local farmers to local people, and I think that's really cool, and probably something a lot of people don't know is that it's a lot more than just swiping a benefits card at a grocery store, and more, and even just more than the education behind just doing that, but that focus on, and all of the different ways that you said that support our local farmers, and just and the whole local community, like the building of that community, and not just these different pieces and connecting them. And I just think it's very special.
Yeah. Well, I think, even as I'm talking to you all today, sometimes I can get bogged down in the tasks that I have to do and forget like the mission that I'm on. And so, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's that everybody deserves to eat good food. No age, there's no requirement that you need to fill. You're a human being, you should be able to fill yourself up with foods that make you feel good so you can live your life, whether it's you're going to work, whether you're going to school, but so you can have the focus and the energy that you need to do that. So yeah, I could get like all touchy-feely, but I just feel like that's a human right. And this is the small work that I can do to push the local side of things, because I'm really passionate about that part. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just getting food to people, right? The local part is the icing on the cake at the moment with how our systems work. But that's kind of, we all pick a mission, right? And so that's the mission that I've chosen, I guess. And I'm just felt really lucky to have my current role at UK, because like when I applied, which was like 6.5 years ago now, or that's when I started, so probably 7 years ago, I just was like, this position was written for me, and I just stumbled across it, and then it's been able to be shaped, and now we have a whole team, right? We have more people hired on to make it possible, so we've just continued to see the need, and the fact that we just don't even have the human capital to meet all the need, because it's endless, because the food system is so cyclical, and there's so many components, right? And we're all part of it. This could be a never ending. So,
well, I would contradict what you said, that you do more than little things, Jan. I mean, I know it can seem that way in the scope of things, and sometimes it is like, am I making an impact here? But I would say you make big impacts, and you've helped a lot more people than maybe you realize by having all that information together and just caring. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's when I'm sitting here nitpicking over the way a sentence is structured in a publication before it goes to be, sometimes you can start thinking, what am I doing with my life? But then when you look at the overall, like, well, this is a publication that's going to help people, hopefully, grow their first raspberry plants, right? And what joy is, like, I mean, is there anything better than growing your own berries than, because like eating a tart berry from the grocery store is 10 times different than a warm raspberry from the sun, right from your backyard. So it's always good to have that perspective, because there are times where I'm like, I'm in the weeds a little too far.
Well, the program is so big and has so many parts. I could see where that could happen when you're working on one tiny portion of such a huge, broad, sweeping program. Yeah. Yeah. Just
my question is maybe how many fresh berries is too many berries?
I don't know if there's a limit on those.
The limit does not exist at my house.
It depends on how
I have to fight the corgis for them. But other than that,
see, this is one of those things where people act like, oh, a pint of berries or even a quart of berries, that's so much.
Yeah.
But a bushel of peaches,
bro,
one sitting.
Nah. Yeah, easily. Yeah. I could easily eat a breakfast.
I eat that many while I'm picking.
Quart of blackberries.
That's so true.
I've eaten a lot of berries. It's sort of, I feel like my spirit animal of a bear is coming out or something. Where it's like, I just find this blackberry bush. I don't know where the next one's going to be. And so I'm going
to eat all of it.
Destroy it. Yeah. Imagine it's mid-December.
When in doubt,
and
be a bear.
Hibernation's coming up.
Yeah. My insane relationship to fresh local fruit is my only contribution to this podcast episode.
Well, but we only get it for such a short window.
It's just so
and then all winter you're waiting for it.
Exactly.
Like you're eating. Sometimes I don't even eat a lot of fruit in the winter.
Exactly.
I'm just going to put it out there.
It's not going to be as good.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is not.
Gotta get your vitamins other ways. You're just like
that is the one thing.
Sauerkraut, pretty much.
Yeah.
If I ever move, it's going to be somewhere where fruit grows all year, because there's nothing quite like it, you know?
Yeah,
There is
when
not.
it's fresh and in season. Oh my goodness, it's
I always feel bad for
good
people who
stuff.
move from tropical places to here because they're like, what do you mean? Like, but what do you mean?
Yeah, you're like, well, you'll be waiting a few months,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be for like 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So you better just be
Uh-huh.
ready, or you better
Like,
freeze it
freeze
and make some
'em, yeah.
smoothies.
Yeah, Kentucky's so tough. If commercial producers, if they get 3 years out of every 10 for peaches, sorry, Brett, like they're doing really good. Like that's the average. It seems like 3 or 4 out of 10. That's tough. I shed a little tear, and then when we have one of those late season frost, and I
Oh,
know
yeah.
there's going to be almost no local peaches, and if it's a statewide thing, it really hits me hard. It really hits me hard.
It
About
doesn't hit you as hard as Brett, though.
No, it does not.
It's Brett.
Brett just is bowing his head over there. I wish everyone could see it. It's beautiful.
Well, one year, I was going to say, how many peaches is too many peaches? In 2021, before we had our farm, we borrowed a farm about 20 minutes from us. We didn't rent it. They let us be there. So anyways, there was a peach tree. And I didn't think we were going to get any peaches. And this is not my tree, okay? But this tree was loaded down with peaches for everybody. And so we got some, the people who own the land got some, but like 2 of the branches were so heavy. It was too many peaches.
You had to lighten the load.
It was
Somebody
like there
call
was
Brett.
a crack
Snapping.
starting, and it was true. Like this tree, it was too many
Oh,
peaches. It was
no,
just
tree
too
health.
happy, and it couldn't carry them all, and that was too many peaches.
Lighten the
That's your
load.
answer, Brett. That's how many peaches.
When
Okay.
the branch is gonna snap, it's too many peaches.
When your legs start to buckle because of the internal capacity of peaches
Peach
has been
capacity.
reached.
Well, I'm just going to keep going then. It sounds like to me I need to push the limit until something starts breaking.
There you go. How do you know you've gone too far unless you go too far?
My leg
Exactly.
just snapped. It was crazy.
Yeah.
That is not what snap ed means, by the way. We don't want to get this
advising
started.
anybody to do that, okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's not
Don't
in
follow
the,
Brett's
that's
example.
that's not in the guidelines.
Yeah.
But fresh fruit and veggie season in Kentucky, I know is pretty special. We don't have the longest window, being zone 6-7 here in the central part of the state, and there's a few other micro zones. But yeah, it's a good time, good local eating. Oh my goodness, I remember just going on reclaimed strip mine areas, and there's just be acres of blackberries, literally acres of blackberries, depending on when the succession was taking place, and just going through with 5-gallon buckets, and we would just pick, and they would start to squish up. And my dad's like, don't stack them that high in the bucket. You know what? I was like, I guess we're not gonna be able to sell these. And he finally caught on to what I was doing. I'd be back in the back drinking the blackberry juice pretty much. But yeah, I just love like blackberry season and raspberry season and all the berry seasons. Strawberries they come on early, but it's a fun time. It's a fun time, and what a great thing to be able to work with, Jan, all of these things that we're talking about. How awesome is that?
It is awesome. I feel blessed. It's been a good go. And there's always something new, right? Someone's always got some crazy idea. I get crazy emails. Hey, Jan, I have 3 frozen squirrels for you. Would you like to pick these up? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Or I just had Asian carp is a big thing right now. Sorry, I shifted from fruit to animals.
Straight into carp, yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
It's
Squirrels.
linear.
Yeah.
But like I just got an email from someone that was like, I have 10 Asian carp. Would you like, I know they're invasive, but would you like to try to make a recipe for these? And I was like, do I got to pick them up today or can you hang on to them? That's always what it is.
And here's a random
Did you ever
question.
think you'd be picking up dead wildlife as part of your job? Is that
No.
what you tell
Well,
people?
maybe
Like, yeah, I get paid
processed
to pick up
wildlife.
dead wildlife.
I have met people in the Lowe's parking lot to like move something from one cooler to another.
Nothing
And
shady
yes,
about that.
Nothing shady about that at all. And then we have a freezer down at the Robinson Center where my office is.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Sean Wright was like, "Hey Jan, Wade would like to know if you're going to ever use that bear that you have frozen back there." We do have frozen bear, and my former coworker Martha is the one who put it in there, and I know it's there, but I don't have a recipe for it, so it's just sitting there. Not bugging anyone. It's like literally in like a back closet, but maybe they need some freezer space. I don't know.
It's in hibernation.
Yes.
Yes.
Just bear with me. Sorry.
Man, I wish I was punny because I could have said that.
Oh,
But I
I'm
wasn't.
not
I just
punny
said,
either.
please let them know I know it's there. And I haven't used it yet. but I'm gonna.
Well, I want to know, Jan, speaking of the Robinson Forest area and where that's at, going towards the east, is there any festivals that celebrate the glory that is like using
Oh,
wildlife in Kentucky? Wasn't there some, I'm remembering, like, I don't know if it was a squirrel festival. There, it seems like time out of mind, there's been, different smaller festivals in Kentucky that's sort of had a theme of wildlife. I
you
don't
know,
know. I can't think of any
I
specifically
should
right
know
now.
this, but I
I don't
don't.
know. I don't know if
The
there's any currently or not.
There's
the
mushroom
only thing,
festival, but
yeah, there's
What
the
is it?
mushroom, and then there's a.
Yeah.
Sorry if you just heard that very loud rooster next to my window. Um,
It's
there's a woolly
giving its
worm
input.
festival,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then the state park down here, Natural Bridge, uh, they have a wild game dinner.
Oh, yeah, I do
oh,
So
remember
I think
that,
there are
yeah.
some dinners going on, but
Have some
honestly,
special events.
they're not allowed to even sell. They have to go buy
Mm.
it. They're not
Yeah.
allowed to even
Yeah.
to sell wild game in Kentucky. Well, and so there's that, which is like a whole.
There's, like,
We could
rules and
spiral down
stuff.
that, yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not allowed.
How
Yeah,
many
for
Sometimes,
woolly
sure.
worms is too many woolly worms to eat?
don't they
Maybe
sting you, or don't they? Not
So
sting, but
one is the answer.
I
yeah,
think I
one
think
once.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once. Yeah, just one time.
If I can eat more than 10, then that means we're gonna have a long winter. Is that right, Ray?
You're gonna have a long evening. That's
Oh,
what you're gonna
gotcha.
you're gonna
have.
have a
That's what it
long
Yeah.
was. That's what it
something,
was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Uh,
That's what it is.
a
But yeah,
long
the
slow
wild
death.
game, like I said, once again, it's a really popular. I mean, people pick those recipe cards up, and they're always surprised. And it's such a good icebreaker for the office, especially for new folks when they move into the community. I can just see the look on their. They're like, "Whoa, what is it? What is this?" And they start to look at some of the recipe cards. I'm like, "No, it's a real thing. Check them out." And I mean, straight from the university, and I'm
Beavers.
like, "Look, it's got a logo on it. It is vetted, and it's
yeah,
amazing."
it's
Yes,
fun.
it's a great program to start a conversation about local foods, the
A-
original local
And
food.
I think it makes us like approachable, because sometimes
Mhm.
it's like
Yes.
UK, the university, and
Yeah.
you could get like sterile thoughts, but it's like
Mhm.
we're doing all that stuff, but we're trying to do things that are real and that matter. We're not trying to tell you know, we're trying to make sure things are coming from folks, not just like I have this great idea. You should
Grassroots
love
approach.
this, you know? So I think that the fun thing about Cook Wild is like it comes across that way because it is that way, like
Yeah, it's cool.
it was shared with us and we're like, oh, we could do something with that. And then it was a life of its own. Like I remember sitting there in our old conference room trying to name it because we're like, what do we call this? Like, we had all these names and all these different combinations. And then Cook Wild Kentucky was what, came out of it to keep it simple. But um, yeah, it's taken a life of its own over the last 6
You
years.
guys cover a lot of ground, and there's probably other areas within the group that you work with that you've not even talked about. It's amazing at the ground you guys are covering.
Oh yes,
Yeah, yeah.
one of my colleagues, she's doing some awesome stuff with like substance use recovery gardens, and we're getting a lot of our stuff translated into other languages now because we have capacity and a person to kind of guide us in that direction. And so there's so many things just in our food system team that I didn't even touch on. And then just even our more traditional nutrition team are trying to do things like, um, have you all heard of alpha gal syndrome, where you get bit
Yes,
by
I
the tick?
have.
It's very intimate in my life because my partner has that, but we're trying to even create resources on that because it's so prevalent across the state now. So we're trying to be aware, and as much as we can, as quickly as we can, get some information out there that's reliable and evidence-based, but is still like understandable for the average person,
Yeah, approachable info, yeah.
Um, that's always our goal, is like we try to write things at a 6th grade reading level, and like we said, like the acronyms, try not to use so many,
Mhm.
just talk in plain speak so that anybody coming to our programs or reading our stuff, or at least most folks, can do so. I'm sure we're not hitting everyone. I'm sure we could be better, but it's the goal.
Sure.
So
I like those pubs because they are easier to you don't have to think as hard when you're like, I just want to plant some beans. I
Yeah.
just want to plant some beans.
what's
I
the
wanna grow them.
spacing? What's the
Yeah,
Give me just the
let's keep it
facts.
easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like the awesome part about the grow your own publications is like we have a whole Hort team side of that.
Mhm.
You know, they write them and then we pick them. We simplify basically, but now they're
Mhm.
at a point where we've done so many that they even know how to write them simply. But so it's kind of an awesome partnership between NEP and the Hort department. So
Yeah.
that's always a big thing is trying to partner with the experts. I don't have to be the expert. I just got to bring them into the room and make sure we're all on the same page and make something happen, And
Not an
so,
easy task. Not an
You're
easy task.
amplifying voices here.
yeah, that's the goal. I'm just like, really, my title should be something like people organizer or something because I feel like that's mostly what I'm doing
No.
is like,
You're an alchemist. It's lead into gold, isn't it? No, nobody's lead though. Gold into bigger gold.
Yeah,
I
some
mean,
people are led. Let's just say.
that's
I
fine.
think
But
Yeah,
no,
some
works the
people are
magic.
led maybe, but
yeah.
we'll be
Lead
nice
is
about it.
valuable. Okay, we're not dissing lead. Lead is valuable, just not the
It
same
can
way
be
as
made
gold.
into gold, so it has its purpose. So there you go.
Well, cool. Well,
Yeah.
any last questions for Jan? She's obviously got important work to do, so we don't want to keep her more longer than we have to.
No,
Thoughts?
just appreciate you being on here and letting us know
Other
about.
than she's
it's-
wonderful.
Yeah, that all the programs and some of the things I don't even think about, even though I pass the materials in the office and we have an assistant there in the office dedicated. There's just stuff that I don't see and hear about the program unless we talk to someone like
Yeah.
Jan. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. And, we're all busy, right? And we're all doing our own things. And so sometimes you got to step out and be like, what else is going on?
Yeah.
I need to do the same. So,
See the big vision of all of us together. Yeah, that's definitely can be a struggle when you're like, I have to correct this sentence before 5 p.m.
yeah. Oh, man. I have edited some strange things too at weird times. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like,
What has led me to this point?
yeah.
How did I get here?
Oh, yeah. So, but thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, cool. All right. Well, we're going to have Jan back on to talk about farmers market culture. I've written it down. I put your name by it. So you just gave yourself away. So
this one we might need to schedule a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
I'm also going to practice so I make sure I say everything in a nice way.
Yeah. I feel that. Sometimes it gets a little frustrating. Yeah.
Can we not say a real way rather than nice way? I mean, I don't know if it's nice or not. We'll be real about that. No.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the best way.
Be real.
If you're going to be
friendly.
sensitive about this, you might not want to listen to this podcast.
Give you like a
No, I'm
seizure
just kidding.
warning, flashing light warning, kind of, may promote, issues.
She might,
sure.
she may trigger your
Trigger
defensiveness
warning.
about farmers market culture.
It might not even be defensiveness. It might just trigger your anxiety into, oh God, that's me too.
Yeah, markets, they are their own world. Well, this is what like the commercial for that episode right now. At the end of this
Perfect.
I like it. I like it. If you want that episode really, really soon and you want to help us pressure Jan into getting us on the schedule, comment more Jan, please now, and we will pressure her. We will peer pressure her into it. The people want you, Jan. And
it's nice to be wanted.
So, yeah, leave a comment, leave Jan a 5-star review on this episode, and we will make sure to pass that along with her. But we thank you all for being here with us today, and we hope that as we grow this podcast, you will grow with us and that you'll join us next time. Have a great one.